Today we are reading through another document regarding the legacy of Code Stone. This one is a catalog by M.H. Blanchard, who had succeeded the codes and their manufactory. The date of publication is 1869, and it has been roughly 30 years since this succession has occurred. So if you're new to these readings, what we're trying to do is put together a timeline or data points to roughly map out the rise of artificial stone within the last few centuries. From here, we will be learning more about Terra Cotta and how this process is not only ancient in practice, but used extensively in architecture and ornamentation during the last few centuries. It is the decorative alternative to the foundational cornerstone of brick. It was in Daniel Pincott's essay that we read how the burning of earth is one of the earliest observations man would have made, witnessing how it hardened to a stone-like composition from altars for sacrifice. Pincott describes this process of fired clay as the original artificial stone. It does raise the question of if this art was ever lost, or just the recipes of time-defying durability that we see in antiquity and within these newer iterations. Alright, let's get to the reading. Thanks for joining and listening in. I do hope this provides some intriguing details in the world of Terra Cotta. Let's begin. Terra Cotta. 100 years have now elapsed since the establishment by the Mrs. Codes at King's Arms Stairs, Narrow Wall, Lambeth, and the opposite Whitehall Stairs, of the manufactory of Terra Cotta. Most of the capital residences and towns in these kingdoms, as well as in foreign parts, contain specimens of it, which are all applied externally, as in coats of arms, capitals of columns, statuettes, terminals, cornices, bas relievos, and other architectural decorations. The most respectable proofs of the utility of this art are the length of time it has been established and the growing fame it has acquired. The numerous and substantial advantages peculiar to this manufacture, in preference to the natural stone, renders an accurate statement of them interesting to the public. Portland stone, marble, and other calcareous materials are considerably impaired, and in time wholly defaced, by the chemical properties of the atmosphere, but the high degree of fire to which this material is exposed in the kilns gives it durability resembling jasper or porphyry. Frost and damps have no effect upon it. Consequently, it retains a sharpness not to be diminished by the changes of climate. On this account, it is principally adapted for sculpture and architectural decorations, for pyramids, triumphal arches, or other national works which are to be exposed to the air. For parks, gardens, fountains, bridges, tombs and churches or cemeteries, or decorations of churches, it claims a superiority of duration over any other material, either in this or a more severe climate, and amongst its other qualities is its resistance both of electric or common fire. Of the one, the partaking of the properties of glass in that respect is a sufficient demonstration, and where it has been applied in buildings which have been burnt down or damaged by fire, such as the Ordnance Arms and the pediment of the Tower of London, a row of houses at Rochester, and any other places, memorable testimonies remain that it has not received the smallest injury. On the contrary, fire freshens it, and the high class of works executed in this material will amply evince that artists of the highest reputation have been and are still employed in all its branches of art. Many acknowledgments are due to the genius of Bacon, Flaxman, De Vere, Benjamin West, Panzetta, Watson, and Woodington, whose assistance our predecessors enjoyed. This material has a preference to Portland stone in point of cheapness, especially in proportion to the enrichment of the work. From my long experience and practical knowledge from early life at Codes, and 30 years having now elapsed since I succeeded them in their manufacture, it might be thought unnecessary or invidious to take notice of the many compositions obtruded to the public under the name of Terra Cotta since the establishment of this manufactory, were it not for their invariable failures, and being pointed out by designing people as the productions of this manufactory, endeavoring thereby to deter gentlemen from introducing it in their designs, and who are respectfully solicited to make previous inquiries, as well for their own satisfaction, as to prevent the injury which the properties are constantly receiving from misrepresentation. It is with pleasure we beg to announce that an early period His late Majesty King George IV was pleased to honor Code's manufactory with his approbation and appointment, and their Royal Highnesses the Prince of Wales and Duke of York have in a like manner granted their countenance, and it is with sincere gratitude we may mention that His late Royal Highness, Prince Albert, took so much interest in the application of terra cotta in this country by works executed by his desire for the Royal Horticultural Gardens and the permanent buildings, South Kensington Museum. The uses and properties of terra cotta will be seen by the following extracts from papers read at the Royal Institute of British Architects and at the Architectural Association. These specimens supplied by M.H. Blanchard for the purpose. And so we're just going to read through some of these extracts and reports and a few other details of note. So let's begin here. Extracts from a paper read at the Royal Institution of British Architects by Charles Fowler, June 1850. It is rather remarkable that the revival of the manufacture of terra cotta, or more properly, vitrified stone, in England should have been effected by two ladies about 70 years ago. The Mrs. Codes from Lyme Regis, possessing a large share of scientific knowledge and energy, embarked in a small manufactory of terra cotta or vitrified stone in Lambeth, which, by their perseverance and good management, eventually attained a considerable degree of celebrity. To this original establishment in Lambeth, the merit is due of greatly improving the composition of the material and the process by which its permanent character was attained. The proprietors had also sufficient enterprise and discrimination to avail themselves of the talents of some distinguished artists, and thus produce works of a superior character, which may fairly vie with those of the chisel. The bas-relief in the pediment over the western portico at Greenwich Hospital, representing the death of Nelson, was designed by West and executed by Bacon and Panzetta, who also modeled many other distinguished works. The rude screen, or loft, at St. George's Chapel, Windsor, was executed in the same material. About the same time, extensive bas-reliefs, colossal figures, and other decorations executed in the same material were placed on the front of the Custom House, London, but these specimens have been removed. The statue of Britannia, made of terra cotta, which crowns the Nelson Monument in Yarmouth, remains uninjured by the exposure to which the stoneworks seems yielding. The Bandschule in Berlin, by Schinkel, is a remarkable example of the modern adaptation of molded brick and terra cotta, of which every part, even the face of the walls, is most carefully wrought and finished. The ancient examples are evidently formed of fine clay, or brick earth carefully prepared and well burnt, and they are therefore precisely of the same nature as coarse pottery ware, and are correctly designated terra cotta. But the modern terra cotta or vitrified stone is a very different substance and greatly superior to them in hardness, texture, and color. Its durability, if properly manufactured, may be deemed almost unlimited, and its economy, if judiciously applied, is a further recommendation, but this involves many important considerations for the judgment and discretion of the architect. Next is a report by the jury of the Great Exhibition in 1851, and it has the prize medal, specifically designated to Mark H. Blanchard for material and workmanship in terra cotta, and it reads as follows. Several objects exhibited by him, including part of a Gothic pinnacle, a capital, and some smaller articles are of very excellent color, and the details of construction admirable. The tint is that of the material as it leaves the kiln, without artificial color, stopping, wash, or paint, and is extremely hard and uniform. It does not alter on exposure. The works of this embellishment have stood the test of time. And here we just have a small section labeled Architectural Designs, and it reads as follows. The nobility, architects, and others will have the satisfaction of finding their designs carefully modeled by experienced and artistic workmen, and will have the opportunity of inspecting their models and the work in progress, which will be found to be a great advantage, as they would have the means of correcting any part of their design without trusting to the judgment of manufacturers and workmen at a distance, as the works are situated in a central locality. Omnibuses from all parts of London pass within 5 minutes' walk of the works. In no case will any duplicate of a private design be issued to the public when prohibited. If arrangements are made accordingly, works of great magnitude can be formed in terra cotta, in one or more pieces, and the parts accurately joined, and form a colossal work. Statue, bas-reliefs, vases, ball and other terminals, coats of arms, armory bearings, etc., etc., may be modeled in this material and fired without molding or transferring, and the risk of copying retaining the vigorous and lasting touches of the artist unimpaired. A list of a few of the works may be mentioned as having been executed by Codes and Mark H. Blanchard, their successor, which will be found to be as fresh and unimpaired as when first executed. And so here we'll just scroll through this, found this interesting, this just being a short list of products that have been sent abroad. So across England, we have Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and even some instances in foreign parts. So we have America, Washington, Boston, we have Amsterdam, Jamaica, Montserrat, and even Poland. So moving along, we have two other small sections I would like to read. These are reports, again similar to the one before the section we just read, these being awards again for exhibitions. So this first one here, report of the jury for the Great Exhibition of 1862. We have 2 prize medals being awarded again to M.H. Blanchard, one for the manufacture of terra cotta and the other for articles in terra cotta applicable to architectural and decorative purposes. And it reads as follows. Some of the works recently executed by us and now in hand are the whole of the ornamental columns and other works of the Royal Horticultural Gardens, the whole of the embellishments to New Orleans House, for H.R.H., the Duke d'Aumale, the terra cotta work to the permanent buildings, South Kensington Museum, Charing Cross and Langham Hotels, and Star and Garter, Richmond, the new mansions, Grosvenor Gardens, Pimlico, the Cannon Street Hotel, and Terminus, City, the Wedgwood Institute, Burslem, Stratfordshire, and the Grand Hotel, Cairo, Egypt. And we may further add that the terra cotta work to the ornamental brick screen together with the sky's large columns and those to the boiler house in the British section, Paris exhibition, were executed by us and so favorably mentioned in the Times, Builder, Illustrated London News, and other leading journals, and for which a silver prize medal has been awarded. And here is the second medal, stating as follows, it is with gratification we beg to announce that letters patent have been granted by Her Most Gracious Majesty the Queen, and His Imperial Majesty the Emperor of France, to M.H. Blanchard, for improvements in the manufacture of terra cotta, and for the adaptation of useful articles for building purposes in this invaluable material, the patent ornamental columns. From the designs and the models of the late Godfrey Skies and the other terra cottas executed for the Royal Horticultural Gardens will be found to be unique for beauty of design, execution of workmanship, durability, and strength, as it may be mentioned that a single column 10 feet high and 8 inches diameter bore a pressure of 20 tons upon being tested during the progress of the works. By order of the authorities, and a specimen of terra cotta exhibited by M.H. Blanchard at the 1851 exhibition was tested by the hydraulic machine that raised the tubes of the Britannia Railway Bridge and bore a pressure of 464 tons to the cubic foot, which was mentioned in many of the scientific journals at the time. Further attention is solicited to M.H. Blanchard's terra cotta illuminated patent fireproof stairs, as exhibited by them in Class 10C, Exhibition 1862, which will be found to possess great advantages over the ordinary stone stairs, in being fireproof, more durable, stronger, and, even with all the additional decoration, cheaper than stone. The capability of this material for decoration of the most elaborate character is well exemplified in the grand staircase of the Turkish Baths, Victoria Street, Westminster, also by the flights of stairs now to be seen at the works. And so here we have one last section on this page, just below these estimates and a few terms, and it reads as follows. Many of the articles shown in the following engravings are illustrative of some kept in stock, and are from ancient examples. Some of these have been carefully remodeled from casts and from original drawings made from private collections. Others are designed by the publisher and artists whom he has employed. Nearly all the vases shown in the first part of the catalogue are of the embossed or sculptural class. Very few embossed vases of ancient workmanship are to be found in this material, compared with the great number found with plain outline and painted ornament. At the era of the fabrication of the best works in terra cotta, which is generally considered to be about 500 years before Christ, it was common with the Etruscans to adorn many parts of their temples with terra cotta. And it is remarkable that while nearly all the great works of architecture and of art generally have either fallen to decay or suffered violence, these fragile memorials should have been preserved to our time with all the sharpness and freshness they possessed 2,500 years since. They convey to us a more intimate knowledge of the durability of the material and the manners and customs of their authors than the more costly monuments of antiquity. Terra cotta is a substance requiring but little care for its preservation, and is, next to glass, the most indestructible of all bodies used in the arts. It appears the less valuable material a work of art is executed in, the greater is its chance of preservation, and, in all probability, had the ancient tombs of Greece contained vases of metal, they would have been disturbed centuries before the thirst of antiquities led us to explore their remains. Therefore, past experiences prove to us that the only lasting material, next to glass, is highly vitrified terra cotta.